Who's an apology? Right. Okay, fine. I think he did. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Sarah, we're in your hands.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to present on the Hagley Ferry Mead Community Board's submission to your 2014-2015 draft annual plan. I would like to highlight some of the key points and welcome questions on any matters that need clarification. Since our board submitted on the annual plan on April the 17th, we have had 2 more floods and the Mayoral Task Force has been established. We would like to thank the Council for the progress made on supporting the most vulnerable and for the community engagement in this process to date. We would like to see this community engagement continue and for increased levels of communication over the management of the stormwater and flooding issues in those areas outside the scope of the initial task force. It is important not only for the work to be done, but for communities to share their local knowledge and to have confidence that the stormwater drainage work is being progressed in the right way. Giving residents regular and specific information on work in progress, as well as that planned, leaves no void to be filled by thoughts of neglect or worries of mismanagement. Those tasked with planning and carrying out the work are very busy, and the communication of the work plan needs to be resourced appropriately. The Hagley Ferry Mead Community Board recently submitted on the Civil Defence Emergency Management Group draft plan for 2014, with research showing a decrease in the levels of civil defence preparedness in Christchurch households since the earthquakes. The board submits in support of an increase or realignment of funds to enable an increase in the level of community programs and support to help communities in their own planning. I note that several other boards have also submitted in support of an increased relationship between civil defence and community boards. The Hagley Ferry Mead Community Board also supports this. The Hagley Ferry Mead Community Board has also long advocated for an indoor aquatic facility in the Linwood or Woolston area. Once the Metro Sports facility is built, there will be 4 Christchurch City Council indoor aquatic facilities, with both recreational and learn to swim, and all west of Colombo Street. With an aquatic facility being planned for the northeast, there will still be a lack of access for those residents in the southeast of the city. In post-quake Christchurch, there has been an understandable focus on the loss of facilities and in doing our best to repair or to replace them. However, we must not forget those who had nothing to start with. The recent Staff Aquatic Facilities Review suggested that a private swim school could cater for the southeast, but this is not true. While located in Linwood, the private provider does not cater well for recreational swimmers, and lesson costs are prohibitive to low-income families at $126 per child for an 8-week term. Families with a community services card could get a 25% discount for lessons in recreational swimming at council's pools, but only if they can get there. We would like to impress upon the Council the need for an aquatic facility in this area and submit in support of the Community Board's involvement in the investigation process. Currently, community boards have annual budgets for training, travel and conferences. However, community board conferences are held biannually, and a reallocation of the annual funding could enable a majority of the funds being available to facilitate increased attendance at conferences. This would be invaluable for professional development. And when it comes to the openness of governance process, it is important that the community can hear board members' views and debate during meetings and see any graphics, and this is not always possible in our boardroom. Community members often sit watching a meeting only to ask what has happened afterwards. We would like more technological support within our boardroom to enable this to improve. Community boards also need enough resourcing to fulfil their duties in representing and advocating for their communities, and current resourcing does not allow this. With the changes in governance and civic services, we would like some clarity over staff resourcing, as well as resourcing to support communication with residents. This is a core function of a community board and should not have to come out of funding sources designated for community groups. While there is talk around extending the delegations of community boards, we need enough resourcing now to meet our current delegations, and more again should they increase. Since our written submission, we have been approached to support a landscape plan for McCormick's Bay Reserve, and board members agreed to include this in our verbal submission. We would like the funding to be allocated from the Parks and Open Spaces, Activities and Services budget. Other points in our submission include an ongoing concern over alignment of skirt work. We support the development of cycleways in our communities and have a desire for communities to have input into planning their routes. We support a review of the Council's events policy and programme and submit that any money from the Capital Endowment Fund be used for projects related to participatory democracy, resilience and environmental sustainability, not major council events. Our board thanks the Council for the opportunities we have had to be involved in facilities rebuild projects so far and submits in support of this continuing. There have also been many wonderful projects come out of the current $50,000 funding for the Transitional City Projects Fund to suburban centres, and the board submits that further funding be made available for the 2014-2015 year. We are going to be a transitional city for a while yet. Finally, we would like to see funding allocated to the ongoing development of the Estuary Edge Master Plan. Many other projects touch on the estuary, but as such an important environmental entity in its own right, we need to make sure that the estuary has its own plan, which can complement and inform work on its edges. Communities are the heart of our city, and we need to focus on what they need. Thank you for your time and consideration of our submission.
Thank you, Sarah. Hey, just two quick questions. One with regards to the your comment about that staff made about the aquatic facility in your area being able to cater for your community.
Yes.
I mean, your community is quite stretched.
It is, yes.
And I'm presuming the facility that was mentioned, I don't know if I'm allowed to, but I'm presuming it's Equigym.
Yes.
So the difference between, say, Equigym, which does a fantastic job at what it does,
Yep.
and a community facility are chalk and cheese.
Completely. Equigym does not provide for recreational swimming for families. They have some lanes open during school hours for swimmers who are competent, so because it's quite a deep pool, but you can't just have fun in the pool. There's lane swimming only, and there's no space for children, and it's also quite expensive for families.
Yeah, I'm just surprised about the statement from staff when you're talking about a community, that they're looking at a community facility. So it'd be good to see, say, something behind that. If you've got some information, I'd like to see that, because if they're making statements like that, then I think they're off the ball.
It's in the Aquatic Facilities Review.
It is, okay, I'll read that, thank you. There's the second quick one, with regards to events and festivals you mentioned.
Yes.
And I don't want to kind of lead a question, but are you kind of saying that, you know, we've got a number of big ticket items which this organisation is investing in.
Yes.
Are you kind of thinking more community or local-based
Major
events type things? Major events.
events.
So more summertime type things rather than ticketing. Is that what you're thinking? I don't know.
We were looking at some of the... We're supporting a review of the major events.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yep, it does. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. It's a really excellent submission. Just some things, I certainly took note of your comments about the flooding task force, and you're really referring to sort of ongoing community information, I guess, going to residents as part of what needs to be done.
That's right.
And we're wanting to make sure that becomes part of the plan. So that point is noted. It's very important.
Yeah.
And also there'll be the community engagement meetings, and there'll be a timeline for those.
Can I just add that I'm getting quite a few emails at the moment from residents in Sumner, for example, who, because they don't know what work is being planned in any of the emergency work, and the staff that they currently have communications with are the planning staff, and they're so busy, they're not getting communication back, and so they're really, really worried, and they keep emailing me. And there's just this lack of information coming back. It needs specific resourcing for communication, not relying on the planners to have to do that communication.
You've made the point very well. Thank you, and I've noted that. And just like a comment on the cycleways too, glad that your board are involved and keen on supporting that, and the whole program should come to each community board, so we clarify just the parts that relate to Hagley Ferry.
That's great.
Thank you.
I just wanted to make the point on the Aquatic Facilities Review that is very much a draft. The reason we've sent it around community boards is to get those exact concerns that have been raised responded to at a local level. There are many private swimming facilities in our city, and it does seem bizarre that Equigym gets treated as a public facility, but in other areas where there are private facilities, they too are not treated in the same way. So the idea of putting the aquatic facility strategy out to local community boards was to get that feedback back, so that before it comes to council to be finalised, we know what the reality is on the ground. So just to make that. Yeah.
Thanks, Sarah. The Estuary Edge Master Plan.
Yes.
I haven't seen much work on. Is that to date? Is that actually scheduled for completion in the 14-15 year, or is it still in process?
We had a briefing a while back, and as far as I'm aware, a lot of work's been put on hold on it because of lack of funding.
Because in your ward, it's really only the Beachville Road section, I think, that's
Being talked about.
Whereas
And that's to do with skirt work.
Yeah, whereas in the Burwood Pegasus ward, there's quite a stretch of of the estuary margin that's under consideration. So, yeah, look, I support that entirely, and I just would probably seek some clarification as to where the plan is at the moment, because it is becoming quite an issue, not only with the estuary itself, but with flooding issues, particularly in the South Shore, South New Brighton area. So thanks anyway for bringing it up.
Thank you. And so on the edge, we also have the coastal pathway as well on the edge of the
Oh,
estuary.
yes,
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
Regarding to the major cycleway facility, the budget you mentioned here, about the $10.4 million has been deferred from the council to the future, the financial years. So where does this figure come from? Because I checked the page 45 and the 94, I didn't see the $10.4 million. How did you calculate?
Sorry, it's a while since we put this in. I think the key point really is that we don't want work deferred.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure where that figure came from.
Yeah, because I checked the 45, no this figure, just whether, how did you accumulate this figure?
Sorry, it's a while since I've looked at the figures on there. I say even if that figure isn't right, it's the deferral of work that that is the key point in that paragraph.
Okay, thank you.
No, I think that's it actually. Thank you very much.